Hey folks, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to The Human Show. My name is Trish, and I am a mom, a certified adult chair life coach, and an evolving human like you. And my intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by helping to expand the emotional intelligence of as many people as possible. I am here to hold space and share wisdom in support of your personal evolution. I know the path can sometimes be dark, so let's carry a light for each other and find our way. Here we go. Hey folks, thanks for being here. I'm super excited to have a very cool guest with me today who's also a dear friend and a fellow coach to share her story of adversity. So, welcome to the show, Michelle Levy.
Hey, Trish, I am so thrilled to be here and so excited to share my story with you and everyone.
Thank you. I'm really honored that you're here because I've been trying to get you on this podcast with me for a long time. I just want to express my gratitude in you showing up today, not just for me, but for yourself and for everyone listening, because I think your story can help a lot of people.
Thanks. It's been a great journey, and being able to come here and share my vulnerability and my story with you is part of my healing. So thank you for the opportunity.
I love that. All right. So let's get into it because I know some of your story. Could you share briefly your story, your journey of adversity and challenge and transition with the listeners?
Sure. My story begins with emotional neglect, that invisible wound where no one yells, but no one truly sees you either. There's no support to process emotions, no model for feeling safe with your own truth. I learned early that love was transactional, earned through pleasing, perfecting, and performing. The truth is now etched into my body as a tattoo and etched into the woman I've become. I became a high functioning codependent, hyper capable, endlessly accommodating, and completely disconnected from my own needs. When I finally fought my way out of the business I co founded 30 years ago and survived a 5-year legal battle with my partner, it shattered me. What I thought would feel like freedom initially felt like emotional free fall. But that breakdown, that was also my awakening. I began to see patterns. I stopped blaming and started taking radical accountability for how I had been showing up, how I'd been packaging myself to be acceptable and digestible for others. I had been abandoning myself to be loved.
Wow. Yeah. So you mentioned sort of the childhood wounding. And so I'm wondering, and I'm sure you've explored this to the ends of the earth and back, being raised in that way, growing up with that kind of environment and what you learned as a child, don't you think that probably played into how you ended up in a marriage that sort of, I don't know, it sort of continued that pattern?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
helped me navigate the emotional roller coaster was learning about emotional neglect. Codependency gave me a language and a liberation. I signed up to become an adult chair life coach where you and I met, where I learned about how stuck my inner child, and my adolescent were. I learned somatic healing that grounded me when my thoughts spiraled. I had to go no contact with my family of origin, growing up with parents that were unavailable emotionally. That became my way of coming back to myself, allowing me to meet myself for the first time, really. I practiced nervous system regulation with tools like havening and tapping in the beginning, and journaling, which became a daily lifeline that I needed. I worked deeply with intuitive spiritual mentors to develop my energy hygiene. And as an empath, I stopped absorbing other people's emotions and start protecting my own, which is something that I really needed to learn as an empath. I joined crayon therapy that gave me access to arrange grief and self-compassion. And when words failed, it introduced me to a world of color and creativity and brought parts of me back to life. Ultimately, stepping into my soul's purpose as a breakup and divorce recovery coach gave my pain a place to give back to others. And above all, what I learned through sweat, tears, surrender, and basically a soul fire was soul sovereignty. This work isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about remembering who you are and choosing her fiercely and fully every single day. I'm a queen. I've learned to trust my intuition, honor my needs, and live from the knowing that everything I need is already inside of me.
Woo! Amen. Amen. Wow, you mentioned like so many incredible tools there to help with navigating the range of emotions that come with this kind of challenge. Yeah, man. I mean, you definitely did the work. You did the work and then some. And well, now I guess it's become a practice. And like you even said, journaling has become a practice. A lot of these things have become a practice, which it sounds like there's a lot of self care tools in there. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. It sounds like you learned about these things, you became more aware of your needs for these things as a result of your challenges with your business partner slash ex-husband. So that talk about how much your self-care changed, like before this process and then throughout.
Yeah. Self care, you know, before it kind of looked like aesthetic, hair, massages, performative self care, bubble baths, but layered over burnout, constantly feeling unappreciated, obligated with zero boundaries. During my self care was at a basic level. Some days brushing my teeth was a huge triumph. Okay. I was super stuck, felt that I needed to be and act a certain way to be safe. Things would come at me and I would not have any tools to handle it. No voice, no nothing. And after I embodied my spiritual, somatic breath work, boundaries, ritual, and of course, color, self care became soul care, rooted in that sovereignty, taking micro moments to ground and realign. That became non negotiable and something that I deeply respected in myself. As I healed some of the people that I had felt overfunctioned, they fell away. I also gave myself permission to do a friends inventory, releasing controlling or energetically draining relationships and taking my power back. I had choice and authority to hold on to my power and sit in the discomfort of change for myself and to change the learned existing patterns within my family of origin and also my own family that I created, my daughter. But it made space for real connection, people who could meet me there beyond the mask. I joined women's circles, intuitive, spiritual, grounded mentors. The IMBA community gave me new roots. And eventually, I was invited to facilitate a very class that helped me heal. The moment marked a sacred return to my truth, a remembering of who I am, and a fearless reclamation of my own power. Boundaries before, my identity was fused with other people's. I could read a room better than I could read myself. I knew what was going on with everybody. There were no boundaries in our home growing up, nothing modeled that would teach me how to hold myself sacred. And now, boundaries are love in action. They're not walls, they're bridges to a deeper, more meaningful connection. They're how I say, I choose me, They protect my energy and preserve my sovereignty. And they've become essential for building aligned relationships in every area of my life. My sense of self and identity, I unhooked from being the strong one, the overachiever, the martyr, the nice girl. That was hard, Trish. Very hard. What emerged was a woman of depth, of softness, and range of joy and soul. I met a part of me who no longer hustles for her worth. She just simply embodies it.
Wow. What an evolution. Even just, I love the line you said, your self care became soul care. That just like screams evolution to me. And everything you just talked about, how your boundaries evolved, which is part of self care as well. And also that by doing, and you mentioned new connections that you made, like, and I think this is like such an important point to highlight is when you do truly take care of yourself, you show up differently in the world and you become open and available for connections that are more aligned to you. And it really sounds like that's sort of what happened as you evolved and sort of stepped into your new capacity, right? For these new connections because you understood what was aligned for you and what was not anymore, which is just incredible awareness. Like, I'm so excited for your book to come out.
Well, everybody has a book in them. I've been trying and really hard to face the evolution of writing a book, birthing a book, being able to share my story,
Yeah.
always sharing it from the scar, not the wound.
Yeah. That's the big one. And just for everyone listening, Michelle doesn't actually have a book coming out. I'm just trying to encourage her to do it because I think it would be fantastic. Bestseller, no doubt. So, oh, you know what? Before I forget, who said that? 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 You have a quote to share.
I do. I do. I have a quote. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. This quote is the heartbeat of my work. I help women transform pain to purpose, not by bypassing it, but by moving through it with devotion, truth, and courage. Every wound I carried, emotional neglect, betrayal, heartbreak, became a sacred doorway back to my soul. That's where I found my light. That's where I remember my truth. And now I hold space for other women to find theirs. And this quote reminds us that we're not broken, we're breaking open. And what pours in through the cracks? Soul sovereignty, self love, and truth that's not performative, but deeply embodied.
I love that quote. I love Rumi.
Roots.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I feel like that's so perfect for you and just perfect for this conversation too about transition and growth. And, so often we look at our wounds as flaws, right? As limits, and being able to reframe it in this way is so powerful. Like, no, this could be a doorway, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love that. So I have one to share. When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has been opened for us. And that's Helen Keller. And it felt appropriate for this as well, because I think it's really easy to get stuck ruminating over the hard things and the challenges and the quote unquote bad things that have happened. And it's hard for us to see outside of that, beyond that, to see opportunities. So I think that was just a really great reminder. There's always a door, right? Or a window, right? Just, You have to sometimes shift your perspective to see it.
Yeah. It's
Yes,
awareness.
it's awareness, right? That's what it comes back to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how, I mean, you've already touched on this a bit, how your priorities have shifted. And I just want to talk about that a little bit because it sounds like, because you mentioned people pleaser. So I would imagine I would imagine that you were pretty low on your priority list for a long time.
I was not on the board. I stopped contorting myself to keep the peace. I
Mm,
stopped chasing the gold stars and started chasing alignment. My
mhm,
nervous system became my compass, right? Creativity became my expression. So I learned through colors and I learned to use my voice and trust in my intuition. That was my guide. Those were my posts. I found my voice. I practiced my no, and I made peace with being misunderstood. Soul sovereignty became the reason for everything. I no longer ask, will they like me? And now I ask, is this true for my soul? I stopped caring about what other people thought, what other people wanted, what other people needed, and came back to what do I want? What do I need? And what's good for me? Because at the end of the day, people won't remember what you wore or what you said, but they'll remember how they felt in your presence.
100%. I love how you said that you made peace with being misunderstood. And, that kind of, it goes along with also, like you said, that you stopped worrying about what other people think. And I think that's one of the big things that really holds us back from growing is we're so worried about what other people think. And if we are misunderstood, there can be this tendency to feel guilty and to feel like, oh, we need to change and fix or correct something so other people understand. Again, changing yourself to fit other people, right? So I love the way
Yeah.
you worded that, making peace with being misunderstood, because that's so freeing, right?
Yes. Yeah. I went through 5 years of litigation and defending my position, myself, my actions, all the things unnecessarily. I felt
Mhm.
like a puppet sometimes. And so when we change this dynamic and we change this need, we change inside and then we put ourselves first alongside with forgiveness. Those are important, very important. And I learned that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you finally made yourself a priority, which is like essential for
Yep.
growth and actually living an emotionally healthy life, developing healthy relationships, because we have to be a priority. And that's hard for a lot of people.
Yep.
That's an easy one to overlook. Like you said, you weren't even on the list for a long time.
Yep.
I mean,
When I stopped people pleasing and started standing in my sovereignty, some people naturally stepped away, fell away.
mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. They were aligned with my wounds, not my wholeness.
Yeah.
Now I attract relationships that meet me in truth because that's how I now meet myself. I need to be in that truth. And I invite others to stand with me there.
Yeah. It's a powerful place to be. Yeah. I like how you said relationships sort of fell away. And I think it's sort of a natural part of this evolution when you learn more about yourself and you make yourself a priority, there will be relationships that will shift. And I think it's great that you were able to see the ones that didn't fit anymore, because I think so often we try to hold on to some relationships because we think we should, right? We think we, quote, should. Oh, we've known them for so long, or they were there through this, or, right? Like we feel like some of these relationships are almost obligatory. And it's
Yeah.
really important to be okay with some of them changing if they don't fit your growth, if they're not aligned with your growth. And it's not bad. I think that's important to remind everyone. That's not bad if a relationship ends. It means that it wasn't a great fit for both of you anymore.
Yeah.
So
From the wound.
it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think you talked about this a little bit already, but I'm going to ask you, life happens for us, which is something I've learned
Me.
past few years, I guess. So tell me, in what ways did this whole journey, I know you had a difficult divorce, and then on top of that was the business breakup, so to speak. So tell me in what ways you've learned that these challenges were for you.
Yeah. Life happens for us, not to us. That is something that I have learned for a long time. This journey cracked me open in the most brutal, beautiful, and sacred way. It was a soul level remembering of who I truly am. It taught me that my pain wasn't punishment, it was a portal. It exposed the inherited stories I was still carrying: be good, be quiet, be pleasing. And it called me to release them, to rewrite them, to speak my truth out loud. I've come to know that sovereignty isn't just a buzzword, it's literally a practice. And I practice and choose it every day. It's waking up and choosing not to abandon yourself, not when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And even the crayon therapy, which began as a gentle creative outlet, became a profound act of reclamation for me. Every crayon therapy, which began as a gentle creative outlet, was a moment for me to join my inner child, to find that creativity and to bring it out. And when I was invited to lead the class eventually, I knew the wound had become the way. And so we talk about that crack and we talk about the wound and what it was really there for me. It's really easy to live in the victim place where this happened to me. And living for me is learning to expand into what's there for you and to further yourself down the path, down this journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the victim mentality is really important to talk about, because it's really easy to fall into that when we get in these tough places. And what it does, it really prevents us from moving forward, because we have this like limited tunnel vision, like, well, I can't do anything because this happened to me. Like, I'm stuck here, right? So it can be a really hard perspective shift, but it's also, I think, incredibly powerful and critical for your own healing and growth,
Yeah.
right?
And showing up for that,
Yeah.
showing up. I always think of myself in that moment of the victim, like so deep in the V, like a
Yeah.
victim. I was really there for a long time. And it took me a
Yeah.
long time to come out of that and to work hard and find the practices to keep me out of that. It's a practice. It's anything else. We're not just on this path now and all is done and we're good. You have to work at it. It's a practice. And sometimes we'll stumble and sometimes we will find new grooves and new opportunities that are come for us to grow and push through and expand and be the person we're meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And there's no finish line, right? It's a practice. You don't hit a point where you're like, okay, I did all my personal work. I'm good. I'm going to go lay on
Yeah,
the
looking for
beach
a
for the rest.
certificate.
There is no certificate, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's practice. But it comes with so many rewards along the way. You do get sort of metaphoric certificates, I think. Like, there's so much to be what is the word I'm looking for? Like another word for reward. Looking for another word for word. But anyway, that you gain, that you earn, that you experience when you do your work and you start to grow personally. I mean, and one of the things, like you mentioned, is just new connections. Like when you were able to step in this to this like authentic version of yourself, then you open yourself up to like authentic connections that are so much more meaningful than maybe some that you've had in the past. You know, that right there is one of the many benefits of just kind of making yourself a priority and being okay with some people not liking what you said or not liking what you're doing or not understanding you because that's okay. They can find their own way. And the people that are aligned with you, you'll find them. You guys will connect and it'll be
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, there's somebody that said once to me, your opinion of me is none of my business. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
What I do and how I live my life is sovereign. And if it aligns with me and my higher purpose and my everyday life, then it's okay. And other people may not like that. And other people may be used to certain patterns that we have in our family of origin, in our original friend groups. And we're allowed to change that. And we are not those patterns. We are sovereign. We are choice. We're at choice to make our own life and our own decisions for how we live our life. And that's something
Yeah.
that we should all guard, something that I value deeply.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So would you be willing to, because you have quite a bit of experience with narcissism in your life. And I know that it has sort of led you to coach other women around this concept. Are you like, and truly I'm asking because you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but would you be willing to go into that a little bit? Like how narcissism played a role in your life and maybe how you dug yourself out of that muck? Because I feel like that was a big, and I know that wasn't in my list of questions, but it's like, I know that was such a big part of your journey and just learning about it and learning about being able to see it, you know, just being able to see it and be like, oh, wow, like this was part of my life. This is how I grew up. And recognizing that maybe you kind of lived with blinders on for a long time. Like you couldn't see that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with parents that were limited in their ability to love us emotionally, to show up and allow space for us. And it was really difficult. I grew up with a mother that was really very hurt as a child and
Mm.
remained limited. And when we grew up, there was no place for that. We were told to be seen and not heard. We were told that she had no ability to have unconditional love, that we had to earn it and we were accountable. And this is where perfectionism and performance came in. I learned that if I did certain things and I became responsible for things that were not mine to ever become responsible for. And at some point, I realized very late in life, actually, that I not only had lived this way, but I had married this person and I was living with narcissism all around me. And yet I had not seen all the signs until I broke. And when I broke and had this emotional seize of my life, I looked to understand what was going on. How is this happening? It really is something that messes up with your mind and you don't know up from down and you don't know where you're at. And it's really a mind mess up. So I had to go no contact for a long time. And that was my first way to understanding what it was about, understanding narcissism in its full entirety. And then I had to stop focusing on that and learned that I needed to come inside and do the work. This is an inside job. It always was. And we get into, as we were talking about earlier, about victimhood, and we feel like a victim and this all happened to me. But the truth is that you see it and it becomes yours. That's the light. You start seeing and following the hurt, and you start following how you're showing up and being accountable to what you're bringing and your lack and your need to resolve some of the traumas that you had as a child. And when we do that work and we become accountable for ourselves and we start forgiving our parents, forgiving them for the way they showed up and the way they had to do things, forgiving ourselves and doing the work. I call it radical self sovereignty or radical self compassion, where we find that compassion for ourselves and that shortcomings, and we do the work and we let go of what happened to us and how we got here. And we put out our boundaries and we find our voice and we listen to our intuition and we follow our heart. And when we do that, we become sovereign. And becoming sovereign and learning that the betrayal and all the things that happened in your life, we all have all of it inside of us to help us heal, grow, and choose another direction.
Yeah.
Hope that
I
answered a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that you mentioned forgiveness when it comes to our parents, because it's really important to remember that if we're doing some personal work and we start uncovering some childhood wounds and some patterns that started when we were children that we learned from our parents, it's really important to remember that when we do that, there's no blame. It's really just, it's a source of information. And it helps to sort of put together pieces of the puzzle, right? Like it helps make things make sense. And I know I've talked to people before who are like, no, it's not, I don't want to blame my parents. It's not my parents' fault in it. And that's not what it's about. It's really helpful to us to learn the source of these patterns or wounds for us, because then it's easy for us to move through them. So I appreciate that you said forgiveness when it comes to your parents, and you also recognized that your parents had patterns that they received. And that's the thing. A lot of this is generational. These are patterns or cycles that have been going on for generation after generation. So
Yeah.
it's just that piece about forgiveness is really important, and to recognize that they did the best they could with the resources and information that were available to them.
Yeah.
And now we have to do the same.
Yeah. And this is the whole idea of generational trauma, of recognizing that I didn't do a great job. And I have a 26-year-old daughter. And we've had talks about how I showed up in the past, how I felt unappreciated, and how we would have these ongoing, repetitive conversations until I realized how I was showing up. And when I showed up differently, there was a repair. And being an adult is learning to repair relationships. And when we're able to do that and be vulnerable and accountable to our children and admit we didn't show up the best way, we didn't have the tools, and apologize, and then take ownership of that and move in a new direction. It's everything. It's powerful. And in the years to come, I hope that we will change this dynamic with my family of origin, with my siblings, and with my family now, my chosen family.
Yeah. You mentioned going no contact, and I was curious if was that part of your divorce process or part of the business split process, or both? Did it happen multiple times?
Yeah, it happened multiple times.
Okay.
I had to deal with, I had to go no contact in a way that was self-loving and educational. I had to stop showing up in this broken way and give myself the air to find another way and to do the work. And it is really hard going no contact because it's confusing why you're doing it. Are you punishing? Or you really don't know what you're doing in the process. I think it really happens afterwards where you're self-reflecting and you realize what a gift you're giving yourself by taking that time to show up and make choice. I made choice to repair with my parents and to forgive. I make other choices not to repair or to end relationships that were toxic for me, that were toxic for my system, that were old patterns. And I needed to just stop and change them, be aware of them. And that's what happens when we give ourselves a little bit of time. We slow down and we're curious. Why do I show up that way? Why do I show up and feel like I'm not myself? And I say things that I'm not myself. And then when we slow down even slower, we can find that we show up as a 10-year-old or we show up as a teenager. And there's no capacity to show up as an adult. And so we give our time. That's the gift. I'm giving myself time to learn, heal, grow, find myself, find my sovereignty, find my voice, trust my intuition, all the things. And as hard as that work is, and it's hard, Trish, I showed up for me and I would not change one moment of it. And that is what keeps me on the path, keeps me on the practice. And knowing that when I stumble, it doesn't mean that all is lost. It means that I have something here to work on, like a divot, like a little pothole in the road, you know? Got to
Yeah.
deal with this. Something's here. It's showing
Yeah.
up.
What's
I
here
have
for me
my
to learn?
tools.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think saying that it was something you gave to yourself, I think that's a really important way to look at it. The whole idea of going no contact, like cutting contact with someone when the relationship is toxic, the connections are toxic, and there's nothing productive, right? I think that can be really hard to cut contact with someone because of our own, I guess, conditioning. It can feel selfish. We can feel guilty because, oh, we're not giving them a chance, right? And again, like you've just talked about, it was for you. It really wasn't about them. It was for you. And when you were talking about giving yourself that space and that time that you needed to process, to heal, like I had this vision of, like if you're in this really noisy room and you're trying to get this work done, you're trying to write things, but it's like, you can't 'cause there's so much noise. Like you have to take yourself out of that room and just lock everybody out, put yourself in a quiet room. It's just a simple way to look at it. Like, hey, I have to move through this. I have to do this right now. And all of this noise is clouding, clouding my process, my thought, my vision. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. Like, it's for you. And I think that's the important thing to remember about boundaries. And when you cut contact with someone, that's a boundary you're setting. Doesn't mean it's forever. It might be. That's another thing to remember. It could be temporary. But like right now, I need this line so that I can take care of me. And I think that's the important part to remember. And what I kept hearing from you is this was for me. This is what I needed. I had to give myself this time. And that's like the big thing about boundaries. It's for me. It's not against you. It's just what I need for me.
Yeah.
So I love the way you
Boundaries.
explained that.
Yeah. Boundaries are something I didn't grow up with. I certainly didn't live the majority of my life until now with ever knowing what a boundary is. Personal, my possessions, my things. I just felt like everything was just taken. It was like a cowboy show. It was just like the Wild West. And when I had the boundaries, I started learning that I had control of myself and how I showed up and what I wanted and I could say no. And I challenged myself to say no. I challenged myself to not automatically say yes, to not automatically give advice. We've joked about this a whole bunch of times. Automatic advice giving. It's just auto, but rather asking the question, are you looking for advice? Are you looking for just an ear? Right?
Mhm.
Saying what I want. What do I want? Putting that out there first, being clear in conversations where I would before be avoidant and evasive and hide sometimes. I mean, I knew my hiding spot really well. And the
Mm.
truth is, that wasn't helping me or anybody else. And so when I learned to be honest and say no, that's not going to work for me, and to say yes, I'd love to do that when my heart says yes and my heart says no, is giving me choice and autonomy. And that's priceless. And the more I do that and I sit in this discomfort of change, the more it becomes habit, even though it's super uncomfortable until it becomes your new normal.
And that can be so hard to sit in the discomfort of change. Oh my gosh. Right? Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Kind of like standing on hot coals.
Yeah, that's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But I also think that when you allow yourself to really sit there, it's just like that. I don't know who said this first, but what you resist persists.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as you think it's going to be when you do finally let yourself sit with it and allow it. Then you'll move through it a lot quicker. It's like the longer you try to fight it and resist it, the longer it's going to continue. So,
Exactly. Learning to share and do repair, learning to share your honest truth with the people that you love in a self loving way, not a self focused way.
mm,
That's something that I've learned. And believe me, I would hide, I would avoid. But the moment you share your truth, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be, ever.
mhm.
And if you're with someone that loves you, they'll see it, they'll honor it, and you'll be able to have a better and deeper, meaningful relationship. And that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like there's been just like years and years and years of growth for you. I've been able to witness a lot of it just in the past few years, like a lot. So tell me how you have reclaimed your narrative. Okay. Because I know that you're obviously our stories change all the time. So tell me how it has changed for you.
Well, I got a tattoo. I got two tattoos, actually. I got a tattoo of a dragonfly in in a time when I really needed reminding that I was on the path, that it was going to get
Mm,
better. And then later on, I went back and I did a unilome to honor and remember the spiral sacred path I've walked and the mantras I live by now, and how I love myself unconditionally and have learned that, to give myself that, to give myself the choice. I launched a trauma informed, soul centered coaching practice, and that reflects my truth and allows me to help others and help myself at the same time, staying accountable to what I believe through my lived experience and helping other women find their beliefs in an accountable way, which helps us move forward and reminds us of the things we have done in the past that push us further down the road and keep us accountable. And you know what? I finally claimed myself, finding out what kind of coach I wanted to be and thought I was, to actually naming what my life experience has brought me to, which is a breakup and divorce coach. Not as a role, but as a declaration. I became a coach that that I needed in the past. I wanted to be that. I wanted to offer women this kind of sovereignty that is possible, that sometimes we don't see and we can't see and we're stuck. And I want to be the light for other women to walk through. And that now has become my choice to serve and to heal others.
Awesome. And I love the tattoos as just such a cool way to celebrate your growth. Can you explain what a unilome is?
Yeah, unilome it's a sacred tattoo of your spiritual journey. So mine starts out with, of course, the word love. And then it goes on to talk about the journey, the trials and tribulations, the back and the forth of different times that you're compressing and expanding to feel your growth, the idea of duality that we learn that we can have and in our life. I can be this and that. I can hurt and feel good. I can feel bad and be progressing. I can do different things at the same time. And we're not all just what we think we are. What we think we are is not necessarily who we actually are. Learning the discernment between that and who we are. Then, of course, the unconditional love, the idea of learning to have unconditional love for myself, which is super important. I didn't get that as a child, and every person needs that. And that's the journey, is we have to teach ourselves what we didn't learn. So we become our parent and we forgive our parents for not being able to do that for us. And we learn to do it for ourselves and become sovereign. And an adult, we learn to face those difficult situations. And then the idea of forgiveness and transcendence are in my unalome. And so it is a spiritual drawing
Mm.
of my path.
Wow. So is it like words or symbols, or can it be both or either? Is it just like
I think it
whatever?
can be anything.
Okay.
It, yeah, it's for me, it's symbols,
Okay.
and it's placed in a place on my body that reminds me, when I look at it, it reminds me of my past, and it reminds me of where I'm going and how to stay on the path, even when I fall off, even when moments of old patterns and wounds open up. I'm able to recognize that I'm not there anymore, and I can be with that part of myself that needs tending, that 5-year-old, that 16-year-old, that really pesky 16-year-old who had a real tough time, and be with her and integrate her as an adult to be one person, the adult version of myself. Hey, this adulting thing's got some perks and it's tough, but I would not live any other way.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. Thank you. So if people want to connect with you, maybe get some coaching or chat or anything, what's the best way for them to find you?
Well, of course, I have my website. I've got one-on-one coaching. I also host a free crayon therapy class, and anyone is welcome. I can give you the link. Anyone's welcome to come and find their creativity and meet other soul aligned creatives. And I'm also writing a 5-week course on narcissistic recovery that I'll be offering in the fall. Something that's helped me write and something that's helped me grow and really narrow down how to help people with narcissistic recovery. It's a practice. And sometimes you can feel alone and you can feel shame in the world because you don't really know what's happening to you. So I hope to enlighten a lot of women and help them find their way.
Yeah, that's going to be really powerful. Awesome. I'll make sure we put all your info in the show notes so people can get to you. And crayon therapy is awesome, I will just say. I did not know I was going to enjoy it as much as I do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Well, I love having you at my class. And by the way, don't have to just use crayons. We can do all kinds of creative expression. And, I always say without judgment, with
Mm,
patience, with grace, we take on and find our creativity and find ourselves in this place on earth and learn to ask for help when we need it.
yeah,
So if you
thank
have
you.
help, offer it. And if you need help, ask for it.
Yeah. Without judgment. Like it's so important for us to create those kind of spaces, those judgment-free zones, We all need that.
We all do. And we need to find a place where we are not judged. We can show up just as ourselves, be vulnerable, and learn from each other and find people that align with you that you just feel good with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. This was really great. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with me and everyone else. I really, really appreciate your time and your honesty and your wisdom. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You're so welcome. And I absolutely loved sharing this time with you, Trish. You are an inspiration, and your podcast is fantastic. And I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here, unless there's anything else you'd like to share. You're good.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
good. I'm complete.
All right. Okay. So, for everyone listening or watching, you are enough just as you are, and you are loved. Make a great day.
Hey, before you go, if you enjoy The Human Show, you can help me spread the word by sharing it and leaving a review. Thank you.